YouTube and welcome to Theater Talk. So I haven't done one of these videos in a very long time because there has been no theater going on because of the pandemic, but I actually got a comment on a video I made on my apartment tour video. I had to go back and look on my phone from Elleda, who I think follows me on Instagram and TikTok as well. So hello. It's a two-part kind of question, so I'm going to answer one of the questions in this video, and then in another video I'm going to answer the second question. So for this video, I'm going to be answering the question where she said, it would be cool to see a video about how you transition to New York City and the actor lifestyle after college. So let's talk about that. If you're new here, hello, my name is Tori Cyclic. I make new videos every Sunday for Cyclic Sunday with other videos throughout the week. If you like what you see, like this video down below and subscribe while you're down there as well. You can also follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok in the description at tss6295. Now, let's get into the video. I also still haven't decided if this is like my set filming location in the new apartment. I like it so far because it has like the windows right there with some nice natural lighting, but like I had to move the bed around to fit the full tripod in. We're figuring that out. So let's get started on answering this question. I grew up in New Jersey, so transitioning from college to New York life was kind of like a very easy transition for me because I knew what the New York lifestyle should be like and would be like. So I kind of knew exactly what I wanted to do with it. Definitely things came up in my life in transitioning from college to living in New York after college that changed that. But for the most part, I felt pretty confident about all of that kind of thing. When I was in high school, I actually had an internship here in New York City, which if you've been watching my videos for a very long time, you might have seen those back in 2012 and 2013, where I interned at a theater called Metropolitan Playhouse, which I actually performed at in 2018. Yeah, I did a play there in 2018. So I kind of already knew the New York traveling kind of life from doing that, from traveling from New Jersey on the bus to get into the city at Port Authority and then taking the train from there. So I've been very used to the life of a New Yorker in that kind of way ever since I was a kid as well. I did summer dance programs when I was like 10 or 11 with American Ballet Theater, and my sister did a bunch of dance programs, so I did live in the city for a couple summers, and I did some acting programs when I was in high school as well. So I'm very used to like the travel part of living in New York. So navigating subways and trains, not really that hard for me. I went to college at the University of Utah, which was extremely different from life in New Jersey and New York that I was used to growing up in high school and as a kid. So for me, transitioning from high school to college was much more of a bigger transition than it was from college to New York City actor life. When I was in college, I always knew that I wanted to come back to New York. Like it was always a plan, no matter how old I was, that I wanted to, after college, come to New York and live in New York and work in New York. That was always my life plan. And I don't know if I've ever talked about this on my channel as well. My plan for college was to originally be in New York. I didn't want to leave the state at all, and then when I was applying to colleges, I didn't get into the programs that I wanted to. I got into the schools academically, but wasn't able to get into the musical theater or acting programs that I wanted to, so that really shifted my plans for college. My dream college was actually Pace University, and when I got in academically, I was very excited, and I got an audition for their actor program, but not the musical theater program, which made me a little bit nervous about my prospects with being able to go there. And then when I did the audition and didn't get accepted to the acting program, that really changed the trajectory of like what I wanted to do for college. And then choosing to go to the University of Utah was a very good decision, I think, on my part, because one, it saved me a lot of money. Two, it really helped me figure out my independence level and feeling comfortable as myself and being on my own and doing my own kind of thing and knowing that I'd be comfortable doing that after college. Three, getting to work at a professional theater and earning equity points before moving to New York was really great. And four, the obvious one, I met Sean, my fiance, so that's a nice, really good thing about going to Utah and finding the person I'm gonna be with. The main thing that I found transitioning from college to life in New York City was figuring out what life was like without doing schoolwork, because I'd spent my entire life up to that point in school and then transitioning to a life where that was not a thing anymore, and I didn't have to think about like papers that were due and homework that I had to do, and I just was able to focus on what I wanted to do in my career, which was musical theater and performing. That was a weird kind of thing for me to figure out. The first main thing that I had to figure out when I moved to New York, besides auditions and things like that, was a job. And I think that's the biggest thing that you need to think about first when you move to New York, because you need to be able to sustain yourself in this city, because it's very hard, and especially now because of the pandemic, it's even harder. I was very lucky that within the first 2 weeks of me moving to New York, I found a restaurant job at Dirt Candy because my sister worked at the restaurant, and I had a fairly easy way to get into this job, and I was at Dirt Candy until it closed because of the pandemic. So I was very lucky to be able to find something that quickly. And that's not the same for a lot of people. I know a lot of people who've moved to New York and have struggled to find a job, like a restaurant job, a temping job, that kind of thing. They've really struggled with finding something that fits with how they want their schedule to work and fits with the kind of life that they want to lead here in New York, and you have to find the right balance of everything with that. And I feel like that was also a really big struggle that I found when I first transitioned from college to New York, because my senior year of college, I was working 4 jobs while I was a full-time student. I was working at Cafe Zupa's, which is a restaurant in Salt Lake City. I was working as a part-time teacher's assistant at the childcare on campus. I was working as an assistant to the musical theater program that I was in. And then, what was the 4th one? I can't even remember at this point. I had too many things going on while doing school at the same time. So kind of removing all of that stuff and then going, okay, great, now you have auditions and a real life job that you're going to be doing here in New York, and you have to be able to pay your rent and survive and be healthy. Let's figure all of that out. So that was a big transition for me of finding like where all of that kind of energy would go into. The thing that I was most excited for in moving to New York was going to auditions. So that was the main reason why I wanted to move to New York, was to be able to audition for productions all over the country and professional theater and Broadway and national tours and things like that. And my first audition in New York was for the Chorus Line non-union national tour, literally the day I moved to New York. It went pretty well. I made it through a couple rounds of the audition. I was like, okay, so this is what this world is like. All right. I feel like in the audition world, I was somewhat prepared from college into New York City life, because we had learned different bits and pieces of things in college about how New York City auditions would be, but it was definitely much more of a learning experience having it be hands-on. There's a lot of things in the New York City audition world that you learn when you get to the audition, because every single audition is different. Case in point, I didn't have my headshot and resume cut correctly for probably about the first year of living in New York, because I didn't have my resume formatted correctly. So I talked to a lot of people about how to correctly format my resume that would fit on an 8x10 sheet of paper, and then to cut my resume correctly and to cut my headshot correctly so it didn't stick out in the pile and look weird. Headshots was a big thing as well that I learned about when I moved to New York, because I had just gotten headshots done to look like myself and kind of look like myself when I was leaving college, but they didn't properly represent who I was. And that was something that I learned when I cut my hair short, that I needed to find headshots and a headshot photographer that understood what I wanted to show in the audition room. All of that kind of stuff with headshots I learned probably about like a year and a half into living in New York, because I was struggling to figure out exactly how I wanted to define myself, and still am figuring out how I want to define myself in auditions and that kind of thing as well. I feel like I'm starting to get a good idea of it, but when I first moved to New York, I had no idea how I wanted to show who I was in the audition room, especially through my headshots. My headshots looked like nothing I should have represented myself as, and it's crazy to see the change of that since I've understood what's needed for a headshot. I think the main thing that I learned with auditions that was different from what I learned in college from auditions was that there's a whole process for New York City auditions, with the time you have to show up to sign up on the list, the order you need to have things in, like things you need to be listening for. There's a lot of things you learn when you're in the audition room in New York that you don't get in a college program, because it's not the same at all. It's completely different. Even when I was auditioning for shows at the Pioneer Theater Company that was at the University of Utah's campus, it was nothing like a New York City audition is, because I've auditioned for them in New York as well, and it's totally different. My transition from college to New York wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. I thought I was going to struggle a lot more than I did, but having my sister to live with for my first year in New York was really helpful, because I had like a built-in friend already in the city with me. I wasn't like I was starting completely fresh and feeling like I was completely lost. Yes, I had some friends from college that moved to New York around the same time I did, but I wasn't super close with them, and yeah, even though they were in my program, like we weren't very, very close, so I just kind of felt alone in that kind of way. But I found my way with having my sister there to be like the first person of contact that I had in New York, and then to like meet her friends, meet people at Dirt Candy and become friends with them, and then understand like the life outside of New York City auditioning that I needed to have, and then finding my friends through dance classes and auditions and different things like that, and then shows that I did afterwards. It was nice to kind of build that up from there, but I'm glad I didn't feel as alone as I could have. There were definitely times where I felt very, very alone in New York when I first moved here, but I've definitely found my way and developed my friendships and developed relationships with people that are very important that I need to have. It is also kind of weird talking about all of this stuff now, because the theater world is not a thing at the current moment. I haven't had a self-tape to do in about a month and a half, and theater for this foreseeable future is not coming back for a very long time. So this is something I haven't really thought about in a very long time, especially thinking about the transition from college into New York City life, because I'm just very used to living here in New York now. Now it's been, what, 3 years that I've lived here, so I'm just very used to how my life is here. So yeah, going back and thinking about this is very weird, but nice to go back to it and try to provide some advice. Oh, hi Carmen. I think the biggest takeaways from all of my rambling here is to be confident in yourself. If you are coming from college to New York to be an actor, musical theater performer, singer, dancer, any of that kind of thing, be confident in yourself and your abilities, because you know you the best. And yes, you will learn a lot about yourself throughout living in New York as a performer. You'll learn how you're gonna grow and change, and your abilities, and how all of that is gonna adapt to a new life in New York City, but be confident in yourself. And then also the logistical things, find a job that fits your life and your wants in the city, and the money you would like to make as well. And if it doesn't work, leave it. Don't stay with a job that you don't like. It's also really important to find the balance in your life between auditions, dance classes, work, resting, friends, taking a step back from everything, doing what you need to do to take care of yourself, because I fully burnt myself out during my first year living in New York because I just did too much. I was trying to go to every single audition when I didn't to do that. I was trying to go to every single audition possible to get myself in the room and get seen by as many people as possible, which is a good strategy to start off with, but it can really suck if you're not getting seen a lot, which happens a lot of the time because of like equity calls, not seeing non-union people and getting cut. You just need to like keep everything in balance. All this to say, yeah, the college to New York transition, it can be difficult. It kind of depends on who you are as a person. I know that I felt very comfortable with it just because of growing up in the New York, New Jersey area. So if you're coming from somewhere else, it can be a bit harder because you don't know New York at all. But also find people in the audition room or at dance classes that look like they know what they're doing and ask them questions. I did that a ton, and it was really helpful because I was able to talk to somebody who was either an equity member or somebody who I was just like, they look like they've been here for a while. They might have the answer to this question that I have. So yeah, seek out people who look like they know the answer, because even if they don't have it, they can reference you to somebody else who does. I really don't know if I answered this question at all of the college to New York transition life. I think I did, but if I didn't, sorry. If I did, I hope this is really helpful for you, and just, yeah, a little insight into what that kind of transition period was like for me. All right, so that's all I have for you guys today. Let me know if there's anything else you want me to talk about on this kind of topic in the comments down below, and if there's anything else you'd like to see here on my channel in particular down there as well. Thank you guys so much for watching DFTBA, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.